Ever wanted to see the artwork for the original TV series but never had the chance to? Well, now you can help to make it happen. Robert Gold Galliers has recently expressed an interest in creating a coffee table book with all drawings for the Thomas & Friends TV series and possibly Tugs and Jack and the Sodor Construction Company. SIF staff member Nicholas has created a petition online to highlight the interest in such a book, but we need your help to make this dream a reality. Just sign the petition today for a chance to make your voice heard. Link is in the description. Johnny Samson's Ghost. Written by Kanefan701. Read and adapted for audio by TARDIS9. The spring season on the island of Sodor went by, and the summer season started. Around this time, the railway was packed with thousands of people coming for their holidays or to visit families and friends. This was the busiest time for the engines, but the summer season was the best time for many people to come to the island to see the place where steam was still going strong. On Edward's branch line, BoCo was finishing his shuttle services from Sudbury to Wellsworth. Later, he was called to rescue Molly, who had broken down on Gordon's Hill. Then, BoCo was called again to take the midnight goods train from Knapford Yards to the other railway, where it was picked up by another engine to take it onto the mainland. The midnight goods departs from the yard at 9:45 and reaches Barrow at midnight. While BoCo waited for the crew to make the final preparations to the train, Thomas arrived with trucks full of slate from the quarry. At 9:45, BoCo departed. But up ahead, the signalman had accidentally left the points switched to another line. BoCo passed them, and before he knew it, he was on the wrong track. It took a moment or two for his driver to notice, but when he did, he soon brought him to a stop. Then, BoCo saw a red lamp attached to a pole with a red flag on top. Ahead of it was a dead end with a huge bank of earth and bushes. "That's strange," he said. "I don't recall seeing that here." As he was about to reverse, there was a sudden gunshot. It made BoCo jump in alarm, and his driver ducked down. Then another gunshot went out. Someone was there, firing at them. BoCo wasted no time in backing out of the line and stopping at the signal box to inform the signalman. He would arrive 40 minutes late in taking the midnight goods. He returned the next morning feeling very shaken. He told the other engines about what had happened last night. They were intrigued, but most of them were not convinced. "Oh, it was probably just somebody hunting," said Duck. "Or it could have been a soldier lost while on a training exercise and fired to call out for help," said Oliver. "Well, whatever it was," BoCo replied, still feeling very shaken, "it scared the living daylights out of me and my driver. One thing is clear. At least that was nothing out of the supernatural." Unfortunately, those words would come back to haunt BoCo. 2 days later, on a mid-misty evening, Duck had been redirected with his goods train. A portion of James's coal train had been uncoupled, and half of it stood in the dead-end line at the same location where BoCo had been a few nights before. Duck had to use the main line to find his way around, but as he passed the signal box, he was startled to hear a gunshot. "Good Lord, what in the name of smoke boxes was that?" called the driver, turning his head from left to right as he brought the train to a stop. Then another gunshot rang out. "No, it can't be. Duck stuttered in fear, remembering his encounter with the ghost of Nathan Jarrett at the smelter's yard. This is just like what happened at the smelters. Then another gunshot went off. "Let's get out of here!" cried the driver, and with that, Duck shot forwards as fast as his wheels would let him. Later that night, Duck told the others what had happened. BoCo was stunned. Now he was beginning to think whoever it was really was shooting at the engines whenever they approached the area. Feeling very worried about this, he decided to talk to Edward about it. He found him resting at Wellsworth. "Hello, BoCo," said the old engine. "Hello, Edward," replied BoCo. "I need to tell you something. For the last few days there's been some mysterious shootings going on near a signal box where a dead-end line is, and towards the end of it is a red flag attached to a pole with a red lamp. Something does not add up here, and I was wondering if you could tell us." Edward's old eyes narrowed as he thought deeply about this. It took a while, but soon enough he found the answer. "It must be the spirit of Johnny Samson," he said. "Who's that?" asked BoCo. "A forgotten man who once lived on the island," Edward said. "Very little is known about him. All that could be said was that he was a kind-hearted man. But that was all to change. And this is how the story went, according to his family and those who knew him." BoCo listened with interest as Edward began. "Around the time the railway was being built, there was a small village. You can't see it now, but it's still there. The story goes that Johnny Samson had grown up in a rather troubled family. His mother worked as a child's caretaker, while his father was a hunter who often went hunting in the forest. When Johnny was in his late teens, his parents got divorced because of his father's obsession with his work. He and his mother were going to move to the coastline of Sodor, where they could live a more quieter life. Unfortunately, Johnny's father had become overwhelmed by jealousy and fury of how much his son was loved by his mother, that he attempted to murder his own child with his rifle. But his cold plan backfired, and he ended up getting killed by Johnny in a brutal fight. Yet, despite saving himself and his mother, Johnny thought he had committed murder, because he wanted to help his father to understand that his obsession with hunting was the cause of all this. After taking his father's rifle, Johnny ran away. As the years went by, he went to defend himself, thinking that a manhunt for him was on. But Johnny failed to understand that his mother had asked and begged for the police to search for her son and bring him back. They found him near a railway line, hiding near the bushes close to the village where he had been raised. The police tried to talk to him and explained that he was not to blame for what had happened during the fight between him, his mother, and his father. Overwhelmed by self-blaming and misunderstanding, Johnny fired his rifle at them, causing the police to open fire and shoot him, thus killing him. In the aftermath of his death, he was buried a few kilometres from the village. Then, around the 1940s, there was a line that was to be extended near the place where he died. But during construction, workmen reported hearing gunshots. From the friends and members of Johnny's family, it was said that his spirit was haunting the place, firing at those that come near his place of rest. The line was left abandoned when World War II came. When the war ended, a new signal box was made and the abandoned line was reused to serve as a runway siding. No buffers were made, so instead the end of the track was filled with a big bank of earth, marked by a metal pole with a red flag and a red lamp. Very few incidents occurred. but whenever an engine would stop at this location, they could hear gunshots. However, no one knew who it was that was doing this, mostly because the ghost of Johnny Samson had become forgotten, and people claim it's just a hunter hunting or criminals smuggling weapons. This has not been true. Up until now, Johnny Samson's ghost has risen again and was defending his place of rest. BoCo was almost lost for words, but he took it all and accepted it. So that's what it was all about, he said. Yes, but I highly doubt anyone will know, Edward said, looking down at his buffers mournfully. That's mainly because most of the family and friends of Johnny are dead, and their relatives have never been told about it. BoCo again fell silent. All he could do was sigh. Later that evening, he told Duck and Oliver about it, but Oliver, however, was not fully convinced. Surely that story never happened, he said. I mean, how come none of us had ever been told about it? Or better yet, how come we've never seen the ghost of Johnny Samson? Edward says that he appears only when people or us engines get too close to the place where he was buried, BoCo said. But the story itself had never been told to anyone since it was forgotten. But now it seems that Johnny Samson has returned, and me and Duck have become the unfortunate victims of his attack on us. Oliver spent all night thinking about BoCo's story. By the next day he was still thinking about it, but he soon dismissed the thought when he went to work, helping Duck, Donald and Douglas on the Little Western, taking passengers to their destinations or helping out with goods trains. When dusk fell, Oliver was to travel to Knapford Yards to pick up some empty ballast wagons and bring them back over to the Little Western. He arrived on time and went on the return journey bunker first. It was dark when they reached the valley, but up ahead, the signalman was having problems with the points. The lever wouldn't budge. He then heard Oliver's whistle in the distance. He ran up the stairs and into the signal box and set the signal alarm to danger. But because he was running backwards, Oliver could not see it. To make matters worse, it was a misty night, so his crew didn't notice the red signal until far too late. Oliver crossed the points and went into the dead-end line. His driver quickly took action and applied the brakes, and Oliver stopped just inches away from the bank of earth and bushes where the pole with the red flag on top and red lamp stood. The signalman came running up to Oliver's cab. "What's happened?" asked the driver. "The point lever will not budge," said the signalman. "I've tried several times, but it won't go." "Can you call for a maintenance crew?" asked the fireman. "I can't," said the signalman. "They'll have to come in the morning. It's way too late now." The driver and fireman both looked at each other, frowning. "It looks like we'll have to stay here for the night," said the driver. Oliver gulped at this. "Don't worry, Oliver," said the fireman, patting him on one of his buffers. "We'll stay with you, in the guard's van. We're both too far from our homes now." Oliver felt a little relieved that he wasn't going to spend the night alone. The signalman returned to his box to look out for other engines, while Oliver's driver and fireman went into the guard's van to sleep. As the hours ticked by, Oliver dozed in the dead-end line. The thought of BoCo's story somehow came back to him. "Johnny Samson," he muttered to himself. "It said that he comes whenever we're too close to his resting place, and yet here I am, and he's not shown up. BoCo must have told me a made-up ghost story just to throw me off. There's really no way that Johnny Samson really lived and died here." Then Oliver heard something. It sounded like a small group of men. Must be policemen on patrol, he said as he closed his eyes. But he was soon woken up by the sound of the footsteps. They got louder and louder until they reached Oliver's cab. "Who's there?" Oliver said. "Show yourself!" At that moment, a man came into his view and turned his head to face him. Oliver almost gasped in horror when he saw who it was. It was Johnny Samson, holding a rifle. He stared coldly at the little green engine. Then he slowly started to load his rifle. Quivering in fear, Oliver thought he was going to shoot at him. "No, please, don't shoot me. Please, I've got nothing to do with your past," he pleaded. Johnny continued to stare coldly at him. Then he slowly raised his rifle. Scared for his life, Oliver shut his eyes tightly. He couldn't stand much more of this. "No," he wailed. "This can't be happening. This can't be happening." As he held his eyes tightly shut, Johnny placed his finger on the trigger, preparing to fire. But then he heard the sound of sirens, which took him by surprise. Thinking that it might be the police searching for him, he retreated and ran off into the darkness. Moments passed, and Oliver still had his eyes shut. Cautiously, he opened them. There was no one there. Johnny Samson was gone. The next morning, Edward came to collect the empty ballast wagons, while BoCo took Oliver back to the sheds on the Little Western. He could see that the little engine's face was in shock about something, and he knew already what it was.
"I take it you had a unique night out," he said quietly.
Oliver couldn't answer. All he could do was sigh. He hoped that what he had witnessed last night was all a dream. But try as he might, he couldn't deny that he had had an encounter with the ghost of Johnny Samson.